All right, welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living Podcast. Now, today I'm doing another car podcast episode, and again, like another reason why I'm doing it is I just like honestly I really do enjoy it because I feel like when I'm driving I can kind of stay on task aside from the traffic updates and things like this. But it's honestly fitting really well in my schedule in terms of just having the topics that I want to talk about, having my few key points, and then just kind of like driving to the gym. And not only does it help me get my mental and my mindset ready for the workout, because most of the time I just do cardio when I do my podcast and stuff before the gym, but it's like it kind of aligns with just getting my mindset ready for the type of work I get done at the gym when I'm on the cardio, and just kind of doing the things like that because I feel like it's all in alignment, and if you've been here for a while, I talk about getting your systems and your habits and your routines and your life all in an alignment of, making you feel your best. Everything's in accordance to what's going to serve you, help you become your best, X, Y, and Z, right? So I just think it's so important. And, I share that with you guys as well. But today's episode, what I want to talk about is 3 reasons why you need to cut people off. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I feel like it's so hard to really create the life that you deserve, feeling your best emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, and everything. And, there's so many everyone's just trying to do the same thing to a certain degree. And, the last thing we need is anyone trying to remove the quality of life from ourselves, from our lives. We're already doing enough turmoil and trauma to ourselves. We don't need anyone else degrading us or taking away from us or anything like that. So, the 3 reasons why you need to cut people off is because it's going to aid in your growth. So let's just jump into it. The first one is because people are anchors. People are fucking anchors, and you got to understand what I mean by the anchors, that they hold you back. And I think one of the biggest things with understanding who are anchors in your life are those people that, you have conversations with about your goals, or like, something you're genuinely excited about, and something, something that gives you fulfillment or joy or purpose, and it's not reciprocated with the same level of respect. I'm not talking about they got to have the same passion and energy towards exactly what you're doing, but if they have respect for you, they're going to listen to you and make you feel heard in regards of what you're going through, right? And I just think, like, their limitations get imposed onto you, and that's the biggest thing, right? And that's what you don't want anyone to do with your goals, is because when you're ambitious, you got to understand, you got to be self-expressive to understand what you want to do. And it's really important to understand where you're getting help with that and where people are anchoring you back, because that's the biggest thing about people in your life that are like holding you back and anchoring you, is like their self-imposed limitations are what hold you back. Their scarce mindsets, their self-limiting beliefs, their anxieties, their depression symptoms, their literally lack of ambition, a lack of self-belief within themselves gets imposed onto you, because they don't hear what you're trying to do in your life. You're not heard in that situation. They're listening, but only from the perspective as to like what's being taken away from them. And it's a reflection as to their insecurities, and that's what makes them an anchor. And this is honestly like a really good segue as to the second reason why you need to cut people off. And it's honestly because not everyone's going to be able to see your vision. And I think that's something that a lot of people got to be able to understand themselves, is not everyone's going to have the vision, but you got to be able to be mature enough within your own life to understand, are you serving someone else's vision, or are you the person with the vision? And what I mean by that, like, let's talk about anchors again, and people that are anchors in your life. If they understand your vision and they can separate themselves from your vision and not let your ambitious ideologies of your life crumble their own insecurities, then they can help you create your vision and become a part of something more and eventually get their own vision. You know what I mean? So I think that's the biggest thing with the second part is realizing or the second reason why you got to cut people off is not everyone's going to be able to see your vision. And you got to understand your role when you're just with your friend groups and things like this, right? Not everyone's, there's a cheesy quote, right? Like, not everyone's in your life for like there's a what is that quote? Everyone's in your life for a season, reasons and things like this. But like, if you're a part of someone else's journey, you got to support them. You can't take away from somebody else's life and take away from somebody else's ambitions and things that they're genuinely building because of how you feel. You got to compartmentalize those things, right? You got to either support us and build, or you're going to become an anchor. And I think the cool thing about that is, like, throughout me personally creating this life, I feel like I've had, and like, not to put names out there, but there's been conversations where like I was in a household with like one of my best friends at the time, and we're not best friends anymore. We don't even fucking chat anymore, which is crazy. And we were so close at one point. And it's like, one time we were like in not an argument, but we were talking about quote unquote the same things. And I was standing firm on, I just generally at that time in my life had bigger ambitions, bigger visions. And yes, to a degree, we were both talking about changing the world and giving impact and building communities, but one's idea of his vision was just here locally and just like making his own table more wealthy, and that's great. That's still creating impact in your family and things like that. But like I was talking about in the terms of world, and anyone that knows me personally, like I'm very ambitious. I'm talking about like moving to Dubai and doing all these crazy ass things, and it's not about I moved to Dubai that puts me on a pedestal, but it's like I'm talking about world impact versus just HRM impact. And I think we are the same tone, but there is differences amongst that in terms of weight of that has that's work that got to be done for that. And I just think passions in terms of like that bigger scale was just a misconception with that conversation. And we didn't see each other's same vision, yet that person in my life at that time was very adamant that they did, and we ended up having a falling out. All right, so my microphone's died. I do apologize. I have no clue what this audio is going to sound like, but I'm not restarting this one because it's a banger of an episode, I feel. And this just goes through the tone of adversities, right? You got to show up 10 toes down, chin up, chest out, go through it. At a time in my life, this would have absolutely gutted me. It almost did kill me today that the microphones were dead. I was pissed off and things. But, now I understand the bigger picture. And it's actually a perfect segue for what we're talking about, right? Like, in terms of, like, yes, like my last conversation, how before the mic died, I was talking about a falling out with a friend. We had the same tone in terms of giving impact, but just subtle differences. And with those differences came weights of work ethic. Not work ethic, I don't want to explain it that way. Just different visions. And it's like there was a little bit of indifference there in terms of how we couldn't support each other based on the ignorance of an ego, in my opinion. So I'll leave that there. But I think in terms of 3 reasons why you need to cut people off in your life, and the second one I'm talking about being like not everyone's gonna be able to see your vision, and me having a falling out with one of my friends is like you got to just understand, like, at a certain point you can't allow your own self-imposed limitations really get into someone else's lane and take away from what they're trying to build. And I think that's just the moral of the story when it comes to an anchor. And just really truthfully ask yourself, right? Like, and that's why social media is such a fucking hefty thing in our lives in terms of like opening up and getting all those dopamine hits in terms of validation that we're fucking trashing. Like, you can open up Instagram and see like 6 million people traveling more than you're traveling, making more money than you're making, looking and feeling in better lifestyles and shapes than you feel, and things like this. The list goes on. I think the biggest thing with that is like understanding like your role amongst it, and that's kind of what we're talking about here, right? And I just think it's so important to like understand where you're at with growing your life, because you got to stand firm on understanding your vision. And when you're trying to cut people out in your life, it's not in a rude way, and these people aren't worth it. But it's again perfect segue into the third reason why you need to cut people off, and that's because you owe it to yourself. There's a quote that I love where it's like, it's a mental health quote where it's like, you don't really know how bad it is until you get something great. And it's like most of us can relate to that in the sense of a relationship, right? Like, how many of us have been in a bad relationship, family relationship, and then we found someone in our life that genuinely loves the fuck out of us, genuinely gives us love and support, and just because they love us, our character, they love us as who we are, and there's nothing transactional or needing to be like compensated in terms of just being there for each other out of love. And it's like that's a perfect example in terms of owing it to yourself. And it's like when you have a vision, you want to change your life, and you want to create all these different legacies in terms of your family legacy. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's a career, and whatever level, whatever it is you want to do, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it's like you owe it to yourself. And to a degree, without like malicious intent being an asshole, like you owe it to yourself to really remove anyone that doesn't align with that, right? And I think you can stand as firm as you want on that, and that's period. That's just it. And I think that's the biggest thing, that's one of the biggest things I've learned over the past few years of building this life and building this business and this community. And is that like I'm fucking so happy, I'm so fulfilled, I'm so full of joy, gratitude, I'm so humble for what I have, right? Like I don't think I deserve anything more than anyone else, and I've earned this through my own work. And I think the biggest, like I said, one of the biggest things is like I try bringing everyone with me. I'm just so big on community and so big on everyone being happy that I just wanted people to be just there with me, and it's sad to see a lot of these people like aren't around still, but
again, when I truthfully have that deep belief system that I can create such an impact on this world, let alone HRM, I gotta go all in on it, right? And that's just what it is because I owe it to myself, right? But to reiterate, the three reasons why you need to cut off people in your life is because number one, they're anchors. Anchors hold you back, hold you in your place, and you just gotta understand that. And a favorite quote to just tie off, well, like to kind of resonates with calling people anchors, is a quote that we have in our group, and it's a rising tide raises all ships, and if you're not raising the tide, you're not gonna uplift us and create more wealth and opportunity in our life, if you will. And I think that's so important. So cut off the anchors because it is what it is, and that's what they're there for, to hold you back. Number two is, not everyone's going to see the vision. So understand your role. Are you the one that's with the vision? That's the one that's willing to go headfirst into like new avenues of life, and you need support. You need some support doing that, and different other things. 100%. But if you are part of someone else's vision, you got to make sure that you're giving your kudos to them and making sure that you're giving them their support and understanding your role. Because the biggest thing is like, when it comes to ego, we all want success, we all want validation, we all want to be like compensated in some regard, and we've all been through stuff, right? So it's like at the end of the day, to get like some like-minded individuals around your corner, I think that's amazing, and it's just understand your role. And the third thing is, you owe it to yourself. Period. You owe it to yourself to build this life, and that is it. Other than that, guys, I appreciate you all. Have a blessed motherfucking day, and then I'll be talking to you.